So we're going round by round, right? Starting with round one?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, round one, I mean, you've got a lot of high-profile names here, obviously. Their first ever pick was Solomon Thomas. That same draft, they drafted Reuben Foster. You have a longtime starter in the NFL in Mike McGlinchey. You have a hit immediately in Nick Bosa. But since then, the results haven't been great either. Jevon Kinlaw, the big miss in Trey Lance, and more recently, Ricky Pearsall and Micah Williams. Considering this is the first round, guys, and Dibs, I know you said we're going to, the first round, you got to grade on a little bit of a curve here. I mean, I can't give them a very good grade. This feels like a D because you have so many high-profile misses, including Trey Lance.
Well, I tell you what, because of the fact, and I know there has to be some guesswork here with the recent picks, because the jury is still out on Micah Williams. The jury is still out on Ricky Pearsall, although I am encouraged by what I saw from both of them in the samples that they have provided so far, especially Ricky Pearsall. Nick Bosa is, that's a clear hit. I sort of like the way that Dibs laid out the Brandon Aiyuk situation earlier. The misses are there. The Trey Lance thing, to me, is the worst pick in the history of the organization. But a D still feels a little heavy-handed. I feel like C-.
Yeah, C- is fair. I look at the TBD guys, to be determined. I have Pearsall as a TBD plus. I think he's trending toward the hit. I don't know about Michael. The hits are McGlinchey, Bosa, and Aiyuk, but the Trey Lance is such a debacle. And Reuben Foster, you had 2 firsts in that draft, and you blew them both. So I couldn't help but to really dock them for that. They get a D, Grandy.
Yeah, Solomon Thomas, I mean, 3rd overall pick. Imagine if they pick someone of Nick Bosa's standard with that number 3 overall pick. All right, up next is round number 2. Their first ever second-round pick was Dante Pettis, hardly an NFL player, but they made up for it the next year with Deebo Samuel, an amazing pick. And then you've had some mixed results since. Aaron Banks, a starter after sitting out for a year. You let him walk before last season. Drake Jackson, not a great pick, also never really got healthy. And then more recently, Renardo Green and Alfred Collins. You have some good, specifically Deebo. He's carrying a lot of the weight here. This is, I think, better than average. I gave him a C+, but nothing really that blows me away aside from that one Deebo Samuel pick.
Yeah, they've only had 6 second-round picks in 9 years.
That's odd.
The curiosity. And the Dante Pettis one, I don't have as a whiff because he did actually go on and play football elsewhere, just not here. Banks and Deebo, the only hits. I gave him a flat C.
I'm actually right there with you with a flat C. I'm not that much more impressed by the second round than I was the first, because the first round has bigger misses, but it also has bigger hits. Deebo was a classic Niner, and there's just a lot of middling in this with that second round, but those are second-round picks. Like, you should be able to come out with a little bit more out of that group than what they did, quite frankly. So I have this barely better than round 1. I give them a C.
All right, on to round 3, and if you have been upset by round 1 and round 2, avert your eyes and ears, because round 3 is a graveyard, other than one name specifically.
Which is a big one.
It is a big one. It's one of the best linebackers, maybe the best linebacker in Niner history, and has been the best linebacker in the NFL for a number of years. That's, of course, Fred Warner. But some of the others in round 3 under Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch: C.J. Beathard, Jalen Hurd, who never played an NFL snap, Trey Sermon, Ambry Thomas, Ty Davis-Price, Danny Gray, Jake Moody, Cam Latu as well. You did have more recently Dominic Pooney, who's a mainstay on your offensive line. Upton Stout had a good rookie year as well last year. Fred Warner carries a ton of this, but with so many guys that turned out to not even be NFL players, I give him a D. The third round has been really, really bad.
Yeah, I actually don't see that one that way. I'm less offended by this, partially because I'm going to be less offended as we go, because they're not supposed to be as high. I'm always going to be more offended by the first-round misses than I am the third-round misses, and I'm going to give a lot of credit to those guys that you just kind of tucked in there at the end that I think are really big hits, and that's Dominic Pooney and Upton Stout. Upton Stout may prove to be the best pick that they had coming out of last year with the way that he improved. So, to me, Fred Warner carries a lot of weight. There are some other players in there that, as you put it, not NFL players. Some of them just aren't here anymore, but they are NFL players. Even Jake freaking Moody, who shouldn't have been a third-round pick, but he was, and he is still an NFL kicker at this hour. I'm going to look at that group and go C+.
Yeah, that's fair, and I'm going to be higher than Grandy and also, not surprisingly, higher than Willard as well. And you highlighted the whiffs. They were 15 third-round picks for the Niners in their 9-year history. And the thing about it is Upton Stout and Pooney, I think they're both going to be hits. Jair Brown, this is a make-or-break year.
Yep.
And Fred Warner's going to be a Hall of Famer. So that, to me, gives you bonus points. You didn't mention Tarvarius Moore or Ahkello Witherspoon, who were both solid Niners while they were here. I gave them B-.
Oh, wow. That's a very Shanahan and Lynch are very happy to hear that, Dibs. I'll put it that way.
Fred brings it up, Grandy, for me.
Absolutely, he does.
And he's a third rounder, and, I mentioned 5 or 6 other guys who actually have been hits.
I also want to throw in one thing that happens in my mind, and I call this the Barry Zito complex, which is that you can look at a pick and go, that was a bad pick, but then you forget some of the little moments they had that really affected the Niners in a positive way. Like Ambry Thomas, for that matter.
Yeah.
Was he a great Niner? No. Did he have a huge play in a huge moment in the history of this organization? You're damn right he did. So I'm not going to pass that off as some horrible thing.
And it's hard for me to look past Jalen Hurd, Ty Davis-Price, and Cam Latu, who never even really played for you.
Too. Throw him in there.
Danny Gray.
Let me throw in one other piece to this. Is there's difference between misevaluation and somebody whose health prevented them from playing. So the Jalen Hurd thing, for example, to me is different than Cam Latu.
Yeah, that's fair. That's
okay.
fair. I mean, they also both suffered from some injuries, but regardless, those were misses. But Fred Warner is an A++++ pick in the third round. Up next is round number 4. Not a ton of picks here as well. In round number 4, Dibs. The first one, Joe Williams, longtime punter Mitch Wishnowsky, offensive lineman who walked away from the Niners this offseason, and Spencer Burford. More recently, Malik Mustafa. You have C.J. West from last year, Jordan Watkins, plus Jacob Cowing. Isaac Guerendo is in there as well. You get towards the middle part, it's hard to find consistent starters and quality players. So this is where the grading on a curve really factors in. But for Mustafa, for Burford, who honestly was pretty good last year, and looking like I have a good feeling about C.J. West going forward as well, I gave this group a C+. Not amazing, but definitely not bad at all in the fourth round.
I thought C+, but I wound up going to a C because of the 9 picks, I only have one as a surefire hit. This is a tough group because 5 of the 9 fourth-round picks came in the last 2 years.
Yeah, certain.
So
very,
the jury's out. Jury's out on Mustafa. I think he's been good. Guerendo and Cowing, it's make or break year. Watkins, I think, can be good. C.J. West, I think, is going to pop as well. It's a really tough group to size up based on the youth on the list, and so I gave him a C.
I'm going to do something that's never happened in the history of grades.
I think I know where you're going.
Fourth round gets an incomplete.
An incomplete?
Yeah, the fourth round.
On.
No, it does. No, for what? No, there's no buck.
There is buck.
Burford is a hit. Joe Williams is a miss. Wishnowski's a freaking punter. And pretty much everyone else, I can't grade them yet. I can't grade people in their first and second year. I can tell you that I'm excited at moments about Malik Mustafa, for example. I can tell you that right now I'm down on Isaac Guerendo, but last year we were up on Isaac Guerendo. There's too many players, as you just said. It was as if the fourth round didn't exist before 2023 or something like that. There's not enough information. This is an incomplete.
That's a cop-out. I'm not a fan.
Fine.
Seriously, send him to the police academy.
I'm not a fan of your Luisa Rice take, so eat it. Yeah.
Fine. Up next is round 5. If you're a Niner fan that is just shaking your head at all these poor grades through the first 4 rounds, this is where it turns around, because round 5 features George Kittle. It features Dre Greenlaw. It features Deommodore Lenoir. It features Talanoa Hufanga. It features Colton McKivitz. Might not be your favorite offensive lineman of all time, but for a 5th round pick, that's pretty darn good. There's also a lot of, I don't know if you call them misses, because this is round 5. This is where the miss rate is really, really high. And the fact that you got a superstar in George Kittle, a really good linebacker in Dre Greenlaw, and a couple of really good defensive backs in Lenoir and Hufanga, this is an A+. You cannot expect more from the 5th round.
I tell you what, this is an easy A. Obviously, I mean, you're talking about multiple people who the 49ers have decided to make multi-millionaires with contract extensions. Kittle, Lenoir, they tried to do it with Greenlaw. He comes back. He definitely would have gotten it, by the way, if he doesn't blow out his Achilles. But what's also amazing is there is next to zero on the bust factor. I don't even know if a bust is doable in the 5th, but just about everyone they've picked in the 5th round has at least made an NFL career for themselves. That's incredible. So this is a clear A to me.
Yeah, and of the guys you didn't mention, Grandy, like Luter and Beal and Jalen Moore, they were special teamers, and Jalen Moore was your swing tackle, and he played for 4 years.
Got paid by the Chiefs.
And Marquise Siegel is a guy who we're hoping will pop. I think he will. And your guy, Grandy, Jordan James, 5th rounder, next year will be a chance for him to flash. I don't do A+, so this is just an A.
Yeah, I gave him an A+, gutless that you guys can't give out A+. Up next, round number 6. Similar to round 5, if you just get a quality player out of this, then that is a hit +++. And in this group for the Niners, you have DJ Jones, no longer a Niner, but was good for the Niners and of lately has been good for the Broncos. In here as well, you have D. Winters, who maybe wasn't as good as we all were hoping for last year, but he's an NFL linebacker. Charlie Warner was a long-time backup tight end for you. Elijah Mitchell kind of came out of nowhere and was a 1,000-yard rusher. Kalia Davis, Nick Zakelj, these aren't amazing players just in school, but these are all players who have started games for you. Considering it's round 6, that's more than a passing grade for me. I give the Niners, and they're drafting in round 6, a B.
Solid, and if you like all those guys you named, like Winters and Zakelj and School and Harris, they're special teams players, and they played for many years. If you can find football players in the 6th who will play for you, that's great value. And I'm glad you mentioned Elijah Mitchell, because he had a monster year and then a couple of good years, and then he got hurt, and that was about it. They did have 4 guys who never played for him: Kingston, Castro Fields, Smith, and Pita T. Remember Pita Tuwanamanapanapanapia? He never played. So because you did have 5 guys that were straight non-factors, I also gave him a B.
Yeah, I go B+ because, again, this is grading on a curve. This is the 6th round.
Yep.
These guys aren't really supposed to make teams, and so when a few of them don't, that's totally fine. I always felt through the years now that DJ Jones is kind of the one who got away as far as the 49ers are concerned. When they ended up in their history in the last few years having trouble stopping the run like they did 2 seasons ago, for example, he's always the guy I think about. Just a phenomenal run stuffer. And as you guys pointed out, some players who have sort of popped when they get their chance, from a School to a D. Winters. I'm not sure D. Winters is going to be on the 49ers this year. That's a conversation for another day. But good player, solid player, 6th round. When you get some players out of that, you get a B+.
And then last but not least, it is round number 7. This is the ultimate you-know-what show. You never know what you're going to get in the 7th round. You just hope that you find somebody that can be a contributor one way or another. And the Niners have found multiple contributors from round 7, including, of course, Brock Purdy, who was Mr. Irrelevant, and they give him a massive contract. That by itself carries this grade up, but you also add in Jevon Jennings, who turned out to be a really good player in the NFL, still a free agent, by the the way, which is kind of crazy. And then also Tatum Bethune is a round 7 pick as well. Some minor contributors and Ronnie Bell, Jalen Graham, back in the day, Richie James. You remember Adrian Colbert back in the first year of the Shanahan era? You got some dudes, specifically Brock Purdy and Jevon Jennings, and considering it's round 7, you can't do better than that. This is an A+ for me.
Well, it shows that you're gutless that you only gave them an A+, because this is my first ever A++ that is being handed out on Grandy's grades.
The president of Brockistan.
Listen, if you get a quarterback, a starting quarterback, an extended quarterback, someone you want to give over $50 million to in the 7th round, quite frankly, boys, we stop the conversation right there. I don't even need the Jevon Jennings. I don't need the Tatum Bethune. The quarterback there, in and of itself, is partially what allowed the 49ers to go to a Super Bowl recently with him, because of the fact they had someone quarterbacking in the Super Bowl who was making less than $1 million. It may go down as one of the greatest draft picks of the last decade or two in the NFL. When you really factor analytics into this, that by itself is an A+. Add in the others, it's an A++.
It's incredible how soft you guys are, and you're looking beyond Curtis Rourke, who didn't even get a snap last year, and Junior Bergen, 7th-round pick, you've never heard of him, and Ronnie Bell, a guy who cost you a game with a big mess up, and Julian Taylor, who was no good. But let's be fair here. You found your franchise quarterback in the 7th, and you got Jevon Jennings in the 7th, a guy who came up with a great nickname, and he had a phenomenal run here. And go ahead and RIP, rest in Pittsburgh or wherever he ends up. I don't do this often, Grandy. In fact, I never do it. And it sickens me to do this, but it's an A+.
Wow.
All right, so I don't think that this whole thing is complete until you then blend all of the rounds together.
For one gigantic grade?
To give the 49ers a grade. And?
Honestly, top rounds are really leave a lot to be desired. Bottom rounds are phenomenal. Middle rounds are okay, but looking at the list, Grandy, I've got 77 picks, and I listed, I believe, 34 hits out of 77. Not quite 50%, but that's pretty good. I give him a B- overall.
Wow.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that.
I didn't even look. I
didn't show my grade to Tibbs. I'm just kind of looking at the board thinking to myself, well, the 5, 6, and 7, I was A, B+, A++. The 1, 2, and 3 was C-, C+. The 4th round was incomplete, so whatever, throw it out.
Yeah.
If I blend that all together mathematically, it falls right in line with about a B, but I'm going to give more credit or slant more importance to 1, 2, and 3 because those are your high-value picks.
Yeah.
So that knocks it down a little bit from a B to a B-. Yeah, I'm right with you.
I'm closer to a C-. I think the whiffs from early in first round, second round, third round, that carries a lot of weight for me. I think the strategy for the Niners is trade all of your early picks and just pick in the 5th round over and over and over. That's all you should do.
All right, so they're trading out tonight, according to you.
Yeah, probably.
Except for if they trade out, that means they're going to the 2nd round and they're just
and then trade out of that tomorrow.
Okay.
Just keep moving on back until you get to your comfort zone.
We'll see if by 7 o'clock tomorrow night the Niners have made any picks yet. Hopefully not.
Maybe wait till day 3. Great job, Grandy.
Yep, good job.
You too, guys.
Fun. Yep. Research up the wazoo. Real good.